반갑습니다. I'm sure by now you have no doubt heard or read some news story about this whole thing going on up in North Korea. Um, Over the last year, it's definitely picked up a lot. And most recently, with the language and all that kind of stuff coming from the new leadership, the new son in charge, things are definitely changing with different countries' perceptions of what's going on up there. So now that I'm actually here in Korea, I started to get a little bit like, what's going on up there? My information comes from American media, which take that with a grain of salt. You never know what direction you're being taken in sometimes, but um, what the news that we're getting is that it's becoming a hotter and hotter issue. So I started saying, hey, geez, I can't seem to get any other feedback other than what I'm reading on the news from writers that are halfway across the world. So I started asking people that I know here, either people that I work with at school, teachers, acquaintances that are Korean, people at my church, whatever like that, just to get their basic feedback. And it's funny because the reactions always seem very similar. Whenever I remember asking some of the administrators at my school, I was like, what's going on up here? This is a few months ago, before the most recent news. What's going on up there? Are you guys concerned or anything like that? And they're like, what? Huh? Oh, yeah. And it was almost like a non-issue. And their perception usually is that, hey, it's North Korea. Usually they do these things when they need something or they just want to make a lot of noise. And interestingly, the conversations, and even if you read between the lines in what's on the news or on websites and the media and stuff like that, conversations always tend to come back around to the whole idea of reunification between the countries. And I found that interesting the first few times I started talking to people here. Um, that is the concern. Hey, they're just doing what they're doing, but we have this new leadership in, or we're getting new leadership in. This is before the new presidency took place. And, we think that she's going to be able to break the barriers, or that the new president would be able to do that. And now they're pretty hopeful that it's going to happen sooner than later. Some people think it's going to take 10 years, some people 5, some people say never. But that's their perspective. And I just think that's interesting. Um, some of the countries now, like Japan and obviously the United States, are starting to step in and say, we need to knock this stuff off, basically. But ironically, it's not back home that you have to be concerned with, because let's be honest, I mean, North Korean military is not up to snuff. They just launched a missile a few months ago that crapped out of the sky and crashed. So there's no threat whatsoever that any missiles or any assault would ever reach the mainland. But here, I'm in Busan, which is the second largest city in South Korea, population-wise, and we have many maritime facilities, universities, and stations, and docks and things like that. There are many ships coming in and out of here, and a lot of soldiers are stationed here. So, oh, geez, maybe this will be a target. But I'm beginning to get a better understanding of the whole thing from a broader perspective, and maybe, it kind of brings me back down to reality that, wait a minute, how stupid would that be if these guys tried to attack U.S. soldiers or bases up in Seoul? I mean, we would, there's no possibility of that without us retaliating and ending it within probably a matter of hours, if not days, at the longest. They just don't have the technology. They don't have the manpower. And many people are starving up there. So I started to realize, hey, I think I'm beginning to see the perspective that South Koreans are seeing here. Because the way they look at it is very different than the way we would look at it back home. They're looking at it like, we're all just Koreans. We're just divided by this goofy government. But essentially, we're all just people. We're all one people here. We're one nation. and they're just waiting for the nonsense to end, and this bad kid in the sandbox, this government really, would just get out of the way and just let things be and let it become one country. And that's their, I think that that's where their heart is, that's where their mind is with it all. And I think that's what I'm beginning to understand. So that's my take on what South Koreans' takes are on the North Korean situation. Hopefully they are right, because you just never know. Someone might go crazy up there and do something outlandish and brash and make me eat my words. But I highly doubt it. I don't think they want to do that unless they want to be martyrs. But let's hope it stays peaceful here so that I can keep teaching for a while and writing in my blog and making videos. Anyway, actually, tell me what you think. What's your opinion on the whole thing? Because I'd like to hear perspectives. If you're from another country other than the United States, and if you're not living in Korea teaching, I'd like to hear maybe what your media is telling you, or what the perceptions are amongst the people walking around in the streets. So be interesting to hear. But thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace.